Hey everyone, welcome to Otaku Talk. It's me, your boy, your host, OD, and today we'll be talking about analyzing chapter 1044 of One Piece. Man, One Piece has been flying off the rails. I cannot wait to talk about it. If this is your first time on this channel, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It would mean the absolute world to me. Also, stay tuned. I have a video coming out. I've had really bad luck with the timing of these videos because I was kind of hoping this video would come out before this review, but they have been releasing like the fan versions of the chapters like super early recently. So unfortunately, the video that I have recording titled "Is Oda a Hack" is going to be coming out after this review, and some of the things in this chapter may or may not conflict with the things that are said in that video, but regardless, I still think it's going to be a great video. Still think you guys should check it out. Anyway, without much further ado, let's get into the review. Hey everyone, welcome to Otaku Talk. Chapter 1044, New Level. This was an incredible chapter in so many ways. And like I said, actually, you guys don't know I said this, but the thing about 1043 and like how Luffy has been fighting and like how he's been fighting in this chapter is it is so reminiscent of early One Piece, pre-time skip One Piece, where Luffy was just doing really wild, really crazy things. Then, I don't know, we kind of started doing a little bit of, vertical power scaling where, we had Gear 2 and it just made Luffy a little bit faster.
I hate when people underestimate my fastness. I'm fast. I'm so fast, you couldn't even comprehend how fast I am.
And so he just became, it became just straight up brawling, but like I can hit fast now. And then Gear 2, I have a big fist, but like there wasn't much in the way of creativity with that outside of the forms themselves. Then Gear 4. Don't get me wrong, super cool. To this day, I love Gear 4. But once again, it came down to hitting harder and all this stuff, and Luffy not being quite as creative as he was in his base form earlier in the series. And now we are just seeing like a culmination of all the things that we loved about the original Luffy fight style in the beginning all at once. So getting into this chapter, there was no cover story or whatever, but we did have a color spread, and it's all of the Straw Hats. It was pretty cool. The one thing I'm really interested in is apparently there's going to be some trucks driving around all of Japan with the Straw Hats on it, and I'm very curious as to like what their purpose is. Are they going to give out like snacks? Are they going to give out manga? So if anyone knows what's going on with that, I'm very curious. But like I didn't really get much of like what was happening with that outside of they're just gonna be randomly like around Japan. I'm sure they're gonna give out stuff. I'm sure there's gonna be something special to them. So we start the chapter and Kaido is basically just like, man, glad that like you didn't die from that. I would have been really sad. Luffy's like that too. But Kaido also was confused about a lot of things, right? You have to realize we've been hearing the narration, or like we've been spying on the Gorosei, if you will. So Kaido doesn't know that this is the Hito no Mi model Nika. He doesn't know anything about this right now, and he starts to confirm some things for me, like one of which was that this transformation seems more so of a Zoan transformation than that of a Paramecia that we once thought Luffy was, right? So he says that, okay, this is clearly your awakening. You're able to turn your surroundings rubbery, but it seems more so like it's a Zoan. And so after he said that, I'm really starting to think when we see Sengoku, I'm really starting to think Sengoku's Buda form actually is just his awakening. Because like I said, once again, I keep saying like I said, but you guys haven't seen the video yet. But there is an SBS where someone asked, what would happen if a human ate the Hito Hito no Mi? And Oda simply said they would just be a human. He said a little bit more than that, but that was more along the lines. And it just really seems like, okay, if you're a human that eats the Hito Hito no Mi, then until it awakens, I guess you simply are just a human, which I have qualms about. But whatever. I digress. That's fine. But yeah, Kaido confirms a lot of some of the things, the reader's suspicions, and some of, you know, his own in this chapter, right? And so Luffy and him are fighting, are going at it, and can I just say, I am absolutely loving the fact that everything is still Gumu Gumu. A lot of people were talking about, are his moves still going to be called Gumu Gumu? It appears they are. As far as Luffy is concerned, similar to Kaido, he doesn't know that this is a different fruit than what he's been told this entire time it is. So he has no reason but to continue to call things, you know, Gumu Gumu, right? And so while he's fighting, you know, Kaido just says, screw it, whatever, and decides to eat Luffy again. Even though this didn't work last time, he tries to do it again. And Luffy is just in Kaido, just destroying his guts, just hitting him every which way you see it. And then he hits us with a Gum Gum Balloon, Fusen, and just expands Kaido. And I was geeking because like Yamato and Momo are watching this fight, and they see that like all of a sudden like Kaido is randomly gotten fat, and they're like, what's going on? Is this a new transformation? And for some reason that made me laugh. Also, I found it super interesting that because Luffy turned into like a Gum Gum Balloon, it was causing Kaido to like float in the air. I'm assuming that's what happened. That's my interpretation of what happened, but it really does look like, you know, after Luffy inflates himself, even though it shouldn't work because he's not helium, he's just air, somehow, some way, he's still causing Kaido to float up in the air. Also, there was a really interesting line that like I have a lot of vested interest in, and Kaido's like, you're supposed to be the one that's rubber, not me. And I said this last time when Luffy had Kaido and was spinning him around last chapter, when Kaido's eyes bulged out, and I was like, is he able to like Toon Force other people? We already know he can turn his surroundings rubbery as well, but can he also, you know, give them the like that Toon ability where they also can act Toonish as well, if that makes sense, right? And something happens in this chapter that makes me question that as well, but I'll wait till we get there, right? And so as he floats him up, Luffy's like, I can see two lights. And the most disgusting thing, crazy, creepy thing, but like amazing thing all at once happens. Luffy shoots his hands out through Kaido's eyes. I was like, oh my god, that looks painful. Shoots his arms out through Kaido's eyes, grabs Kaido's nose through his eyes, and then escape rockets his way out of Kaido's mouth. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? Also, this kind of bothered me, and I'm going to talk about this more at the end of the chapter review, but it kind of bothers me that like Kaido's eyes are fine. It's kind of like both a joke but not a joke, and I'm just like,
he's so ugly. I love him.
That's cool and all, but like he just had hands go out through his eyes, and it's like, what exactly will hurt Kaido and what won't? Like, and I'm not even talking about Kaido, like what exactly of Luffy's like moves and Toon Force actually inflict actual damage on their opponent, and which can just be kind of shirked off as like jokes or like Toon things, right? And so after he gets let out of Kaido's mouth, he releases the air in his stomach, and like kind of, you know how he always does when he releases the air in his balloon mode, just kind of balloons out, floats up, but he gets shot up into the sky, right? And on his way down, we hear Gamu Gamu no Gigante, and not Gigante pistol, just straight up Gigante. And then we see giant Luffy. And I know for all the theory crafters, they are losing their mind right now, because a big theory that has been going around in One Piece for at least, I want to say, bare minimum half decade, definitely at least a half decade, most likely a decade. People have been saying that they think that Luffy in some way, shape, or form has to be able to turn into a giant, and that being a giant is going to play a significant role in whatever like the One Piece is, whatever happens with him, whatever is needed. We've heard about the importance of giants time and time and time again, and so yeah, Luffy can turn into a giant. It was crazy. This whole chapter is honestly bonkers. This whole chapter is bonkers. It's absurd, it's ridiculous, and I am here for it. I'm loving it. Still, I do have some qualms, I do have some apprehension, some concerns, but once again, we're gonna get into that at the end. But anyway, comes out as a giant. Everyone is absolutely shocked. He proceeds to engage with Kaido again. Man is literally working Kaido. Ever since he transformed into Gear 5th, he has been absolutely just working, washing Kaido. He literally takes Kaido's tail and head and starts jump roping with this man. Bro, talk about the humiliation. Like, I cannot imagine Kaido, like what is going through Kaido's head at this moment, but Luffy is just on one. He is off a bean. He is just having the time of his life. He is off the zoinkies. He is just going ham right now. And he literally grabs Kaido and just goes Gumu Gumu no jump rope, and just in the air is jump roping with Kaido, and it is insane. Literally, Kaido has had enough and just point blank Boro breaths him, which I cannot blame him for. I would be like, get the off me, bro. Get the fuck out of here, bitch! Boro breaths the mess out of Luffy. Point blank, Yamato sees it and she's like, oh my god, he took a point blank Boro breath to the face. But doesn't really phase Luffy that much. He seems to bounce back from it rather quickly, right? And then so he's free falling after the blast, but then in complete Toon fashion, just starts doing the like. My editor needs to make that little noise before like the end of the cartoon characters start running, when they're like running in place, like the specifically the Scooby and Shaggy sound when they're like in places before they sprint off. He does that and then just runs across the air, right? And honestly, within the concept of this chapter, that is super cool, but I have so many questions and it bothers me a bit. And I know some people will be like, this shouldn't bother you. There's stuff like Geppo, right? Where he's just like, where like they fly through the air like that. But I'm like, this dude is literally just running through the air right now. Like literally, what can and can't Luffy do at this point? I remember getting into a discussion with some of my friends like, yo, the fact that he is limited by his imagination is going to be bonkers. It's going to be nutty. And my friend was like, well, the official translation kind of fixed that. It's he can fight any way he fancies. But I was like, that's just a creative, clever way of like beating around the bush. But it truly does seem like they have, like Oda has every intention of Luffy being able to do whatever he wants, whatever he thinks he can do, Luffy will be able to do. We are literally seeing him just completely have complete and utter disregard for the laws of physics and like everything in this world, right? So anyway, Kaido has had absolutely enough of Luffy. He switches to hybrid form. I think he realizes like, hey, I gotta stop playing around. Like whatever is going on with Luffy is enough to make him like shit on my dragon form, right? And so Luffy winds up to hit him with another attack, but Kaido shuts that shit down with a Three Worlds Ragnarok, right? And this sends Luffy's head down into Onigashima Castle. Like literally, Kaido claps the ever-loving mess out of him, hits him into the castle, his head goes through, and then like Luffy's like yelling in pain, eyes are bulging, literally bulging out of his head, tongue sticking out, and like he's like, ah! And then literally everyone under there has no clue what's going on, did not see this coming. They just see this giant face with eyes bulging out at them, and they all scream, their eyes stick out, and then we proceed to see a panel of like Law, Kid, Nami, Chopper, and Tama collectively losing their shits, all their eyes bulging out, and just all of them having face faults as well. Something I want to talk about is last chapter I thought that when Luffy grabbed Kaido, that was the reason Kaido's eyes were bulging out, because Luffy was attributing some of his Toon force to Kaido. And even now I'm at a loss for like what exactly is happening. Is this just a gag that Oda is doing, or is Luffy some way somehow able to like affect others with it, and that's why their eyes are bulging out? Because at first I thought the eye bulging out thing was a consequence of the devil fruit, but now that Luffy is not touching any of them, and they're all doing it as a face fall, even though this is a very unique face fall. I've like rarely seen where their eyes have come out in like the cartoon way, where it's like little like bubbles, bubble, and then eyeball. I've always seen where the eyes stick out, but never when it's like bubble, and they're just like protruding multiple times. So I really am wondering what Oda is trying to like do or tell us there, right? So anyway, Luffy pulls his head back through the hole, hits the wall behind him, and just ricochets off, right? And the entire time, Kaido is just admiring the spectacle before him. Even bring up the fact that like this is something out of a picture book. Like he's acknowledging that like, yo, this is madness. This is actual like ridiculousness on like a completely another level, on a different spectrum, right? And so by the way, after this, Kaido seems to be in complete tip-top fighting shape. Like I don't know how he could have gone through everything he's gone through and still be just kind of like posed and like stoic as he is, right? And he tells Luffy that Luffy is at the end of his rope, which Luffy then denies, but immediately falls out of Gear 5th and looks terrible. Like we see the progression of like Gear 5th wearing off, and then there's like a panel. The second to last panel is what I kind of expected, you know, a really dead tired Luffy. But the last panel, Luffy looks terrible. He looks like he's aged like 50 years. It almost looks as if like all the damage he's taken has compounded all in an instant, and has finally like caught up to him in an instant. And it looked really bad. And you know, we've seen before, or at least heard before, you know, Gear 2nd, Gear 3rd, Gear 4th all have physical ramifications. They screw with his lifespan, his life force. And honestly, it's always bothered me because we've been told this, but we've never seen anything of it, right? And so I'm wondering at what point Oda is going to actually make like these things tangible. Personally, I think that Oda's saving it for like to hit us like a ton of bricks later on in the series, where we think Luffy can do anything, we think he's got it, and then all of a sudden like he is completely like sick, unable to continue, and can't go on because all the effects of Gear 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and now even 5th have finally caught up to him, right? So I mean, once again, everyone's still wondering about if Law is ever going to use the immortality surgery, like immortality surgery. I've always figured he'll use it on either Luffy or Usopp. Those are the two people I always thought like one of them seems to be the one to get it, even though I think Oda is setting it up where Luffy isn't meant to be here for a long time, but for a good time. You know what I'm talking about? That Drake song. It really does seem like Luffy isn't going to make it out of this story alive. And I've been preparing myself for that, because eventually this has to catch up to him, or I'm gonna have problems with like, what was the point of putting in these arbitrary like limitations if they didn't actually truly exist, right? And so anyway, yeah, I think it's kind of scary. It really does seem like Luffy has nothing in the tank right now, and somehow Gear 5th is kind of just in some way, shape, or form artificially just prolonging his ability to stay in this fight, right? And so Kaido is literally, after like this happens to Luffy, like, what are you? But then he himself finally shows signs of fatigue. Speaking of Kaido being like, what are you? I'm surprised this entire fight he hasn't made any reference to Luffy possibly being Joy Boy. Like, you would think someone like Kaido, who seems to know a lot about being Joy Boy, what it means to be Joy Boy, what it takes to be Joy Boy, would have established right now that, oh no, you are the Joy Boy. But he hasn't said anything like that, and I'm really confused as to why, especially after he heard, or at least like he saw that Luffy's will disappeared, and all of a sudden like this came back. And I'm wondering if Kaido was able to hear the drums or not. I forget exactly who was able to hear the drums and whatnot. Like, I just know Kaido was able to sense the Conqueror's Haki and all the stuff going on. And last chapter he didn't recognize that it was Luffy's. So yeah, there's absolutely a lot going on right now. Also, something that really that has like raises cause for concern is the fact that Momo even says that Luffy's voice is fading rapidly. So like it does really tell me that like something is going on that may potentially be life-threatening to Luffy. I know a lot of people in the community, especially me, were really concerned that with an ability as outlandish as Gear 5th and as almost omnipotent as it is, like how can Luffy lose? And if it's something along the lines of while he's in it, like his actual regular base form is like dying, like it takes so much for him to be able to wield this godly power that like once he's out of the form, like his base form is devastated. That would help assuage some of my like complaints and issues, where at least there is some kind of like limits, like ramifications, repercussions of this insane amount of power that Luffy has somehow instantaneously acquired, right? And so Luffy starts thinking about all the people like that, you know, this fight is important to, and he starts saying like he's still in this. He's talking about we're not done yet. He's thinking about Momo, he's thinking about Tama. For some reason, out of nowhere, he brings up Pedro, and it's the thinking of Pedro that all of a sudden gets him back into Gear 5th. And like for whatever reason, he's able to get, I guess it's his heart, something's going on. It seems he has to have the drums of liberation going. Maybe he always has to be joyful, maybe he has to be staying positive. So maybe it's just a state of mind thing, which would tie well into the themes of the series, like keeping a state of mind. And I like the idea that, you know, happiness is like a temporary state of mind. Happiness is situational. Joy is just like no matter what situation you're in, you remain joyful. So I like the idea that like it's around that. So something else I've been noticing, so after Luffy gets back in Gear 5th, he's like, that's the noise. Like he's recognizing that, okay, this is what I need to feel. This is what needs to be happening for me to be in Gear 5th. Kaido runs at him again. He's like, whatever, I need to like fight this dude before he starts waxing my ass again. And he gets hit with the Kanabo, and it leaves the full imprint of the Kanabo in Luffy's head. Luffy's head is flat with like spikes going through it. And something that's been bothering me is ever since like Luffy has entered Gear 5th, minus the time he reflected back the Boro breath that Kaido sent to him, he's been kind of like not at all really been trying to dodge any of these things, and he's been taking these attacks. And I'm wondering, is he just taking them because he knows he can take them, or is he taking them because, you know, he doesn't, his evasive speed isn't as high in this form? Kaido literally says that he's coded in armament and conqueror's haki in this form, but I'm wondering how his observation haki in this form is going. We do know that observation haki is very concentration oriented, and it kind of seems like Luffy's not concentrated in this form. He's just jubilant, he's happy-go-lucky. So maybe that's interfering with his ability to, you know, see the future, predict moves, and dodge. I don't know, I'm just guessing at this point. But yeah, man, Kaido is going all out trying to end this. He lands another blow on Luffy, completely crushing Luffy flat into the ground. But once again, Luffy is rubber, the ground underneath Luffy is rubber, and so after Kaido hits him down, Luffy immediately springs back up, counts down from 3 to 0, and then starts doing what I can only describe as a Gamu Gamu no UFO. It looks a lot like Gamu Gamu UFO, right? And the most disgusting, absolutely disgusting thing I have ever seen in One Piece, Luffy hits Kaido's shit, and he doesn't just hit Kaido's shit, he hits through Kaido's shit. And I almost lost my shit. I almost dropped my laptop. I was like, what the hell is going on? I said, did this man's Luffy just punch through Kaido's head? I'm sorry, is this One Piece? Are we still reading the same manga? Is this a shonen? This is seinen territory. You can't show this. I thought this was a kid's manga. But if you look closely, it really does look like Luffy straight punched through this man's dome. But you do see like his fingers. You don't see like the individual fingers. It seems like, you know, fingers through like plastic or latex when you punch through something. So it, like, I kind of like, after, like, I have never jump to another panel or to another page so quickly because I needed to see what happened. And we do see that, you know, Kaido is okay afterwards. Like Kaido's face is still there, but I was like, are you shitting me right now? Are you shitting me? Did that really just happen? And so after this point, Luffy's just like, I'm having the time of my life, which, by the way, I do think is some kind of requirement to sustain the form, that Luffy has to be having fun. He has to stay jubilant and joyful the entire time, or he'll fall out of the form, right? But I do think when he falls out of the form, all the damage and stuff that he's done will compound and just completely eviscerate him. All right, now fun and games over. Let's talk about something really serious right now. Did I love this chapter? Absolutely. 10 out of 10. I'm loving everything that's happening. I'm getting huge pre-time skip vibes. I'm loving the energy. I'm getting like, and honestly, I can feel the energy. I can feel Oda's energy emanating through the pages. Like, I can tell Oda had the greatest time of his life writing this chapter. Like, I can tell, like, this is something that brought him great joy. Like, I get that. But there are just some things that are happening right now that are bothering me, and I just need to understand the ramifications of. For example, earlier I mentioned Luffy is just now able to just run across the sky. I guess you can say that's not the most outlandish thing. Like I've said before, we have Geppo in the series. Luffy literally, you know, in Gear 4 can fly because of like that never bothered me because it used like in-world like mechanics and like laws and rules that were previously established. But like for Luffy to just be able to just casually run in the air is super weird to me. It's super weird to me. Did I dig it in the moment? Absolutely. But I'm like, where does it start? Where does it end? Right? And then the last thing I want to talk about. Oh, okay. And then the next thing I want to talk about is when Luffy punched through Kaido's eyes. Bruh. How the hell does Kaido still have eyes? Like, how the hell does he still have the functionality of his eyes? How is it okay? Is it a situation where, okay, Kaido also was toonified in that way, and so, like, he can recover? But then it's like, okay, so when is something actually hurting them, and when is something actually not hurting them based upon Luffy's power? And then that goes back to the last thing I talked about, when Luffy literally punched through Kaido's shit. How do you survive that? Like, I was talking to my friend and he was like, well, I mean, Kaido did jump off a Sky Island. Look, I don't care. That's semantics at this point. I really do not care. I just don't think someone should be able to survive that. We saw how far back, how far out of his head that punch landed. And it's like, okay, so what does this mean? Like, at this point in time, Luffy is like impossible to power scale. We don't know quite how strong, how weak he is, what his limitations are. I can't tell you where he ranks right now. I kind of just assume like he is just beyond anyone in the series. It's like I said in the last review, like this feels beyond the end game. I was already ready for like Luffy to be able to win this fight with maybe just Ryu, with maybe just Conquerors, right? But now we're getting this stuff too, and it's like, screw Kaido. How is anyone going to be able to beat Luffy, especially when he becomes more acquainted with this form and the things he can do in it, right? And so I'm thinking, okay, maybe Oda, in order to balance out the form, you know, awakenings take a lot out of you. Maybe what we saw with Luffy like aging sporadically and like being out of energy and power, maybe that's going to be the thing where like, okay, he's only powerful in chunks, but once he reverts back to that, you know, he's got to figure something out. But like, it's gonna be weird to like gauge the stakes. What's the word I'm looking for? The stakes. Like, my big concern is Gear 5 is going to ruin a lot of the tension, because we can kind of just sit back and be like, he can do anything, so he can do anything to get himself out of this. And I know I've like been broken record, but once again, just like, if punching through Kaido's eyes isn't something that's going to affect his eyes or his eyesight, or, you know, punching literally the back of Kaido's head and like to the level that he did. And once again, you can say that like he's affected by the Kaido was also at the time affected by the devil fruit, but then two questions for you. One, so if Luffy is constantly transferring the effect of his devil fruit to his opponents, then how are they going to take full actual damage, right? How are they going to actually take damage if they're also rubber on impact as well? And on top of that, we're literally told that he's shrouded in armament and conquerors haki. So I'm like, shouldn't that, we've seen that, you know, haki can like negate the effects of devil fruits and stuff like that, so shouldn't have canceled it out regardless. Like Kaido should be like donezo. So yeah, man, this was a wild chapter. I really need all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Now I am really trying to talk to everyone. Let's brainstorm, because yeah, as like I said, amazing 10 out of 10 chapter. I loved it. I'm here for it, but there's a lot of questions, a lot of ramifications that we just can't simply ignore because we love Oda, we love the series. It's One Piece, nothing matters. No, things do matter. There is like logical consistency that has to be retained. And so yeah, I'm gonna leave the review there. Please do not forget to check out, it's a really important video. I really do think that it's something that needs to be discussed. Is Oda a hack? That video, it should be coming out sometime after this video. It was supposed to come out before, but it's gonna come out after, and it's gonna address a lot of the issues that Gear 5th and like what's happening in the story and the Gamu Gamu being the heat. Anyway, it's going to address like all the issues that Gear 5th has presented, the problems with the Hito no Mi, and you know, just a lot of the repercussions and ramifications of like just everything that's been just happening recently. And yeah, that's about it. I don't like that. And yeah, it's going to address some of, you know, the ramifications or repercussions of Gear 5th, some of the potential issues with the plot, the story, the writing, you know, issues and qualms I have with the Gamu Gamu no Mi now being the Hito no Mi and stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It would mean the absolute world to me. Don't forget to check out that video like I said. And this has been Otaku Talk. I'm your boy OD, and I'll be signing out. Thank you guys very much. Peace. Have a great weekend.